So Nintendo did have shit for their 2020. They did have stuff for their 2020. But jokes aside, hi, SuperMarioT. It's past 5:30 actually. Jesus. Yeah, I did not sleep that well. I don't want to add too much fluff. They just dropped this Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, a story 100 years before The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Hyrule Warriors getting a sequel. That's pretty cool. I'm just gonna start this reaction. Cause like, I kind of want to. It's making me like, I've heard this for like the past hour. I tried not looking at too much. Okay, Koei Tecmo, by the way, makes sense.
Hello everyone, I'm Eiji Aonuma, the producer of the Legend of Zelda series.
I'm trying not to look at too much. I try not looking at too much information on this specific game.
Nintendo Direct presentation that we had started development on the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Many people around the world are still playing Breath of the Wild, so I'd like to thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
I gotta stream that game.
Thank you so
I gotta
much.
stream that game. Barely got that far. Spent 20 hours doing aimless stuff. Finding towers. It was towers and shrines.
To make the vast world you enjoyed exploring in the original game even more impressive, the team is working hard on its development, so you'll have to wait a bit longer before we can provide more updates.
Completely fine. Completely fine.
In the meantime, we've prepared a different way for you to experience the world of Hyrule, and we have a video to introduce it. Please take a look.
The history of the royal family of Hyrule is also the history of Calamity Ganon, a primal evil that has endured over the ages.
I think you are now ready. Ready to hear what happened.
This looks really beautiful. I'm so used to short-haired Zelda, actually. That's how much I've been looking at the sequel trailer. Oh, this looks really nice. This is cool, though. Like, Hyrule Warriors has a sequel now. And it's in the style of Breath of the Wild 2. Breath of the Wild 2. Breath of the Wild. Then it's in the same timeline. Like, you know, honestly, the more I think about it, that's huge. That's pretty huge. How much Breath of the Wild's getting so much. Ooh. Oh, she did the time stop thing. Zawada though. Or he's the chain user. There you go. You get a JoJo reference and you get a Hunter x Hunter reference. Yeah, this is just making me think a lot. Cause, oh my god, man, I really want to get into Zelda. I think I'm gonna make. I think I'm gonna. Damn, I'm gonna break this into its own mini discussion when this is over. I got a lot of thinking right now.
Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. This game takes place 100 years before the events of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. In that game, the great calamity that occurred 100 years prior was mentioned, but the actual event itself wasn't shown in full. In this game, you'll be able to experience the events of the great calamity. So now, I would like to invite Koei Tecmo Games producer, Mr. Hayashi, to join me here.
I'm like looking up and down at my phone at the presentation.
From Koei Tecmo Games and the producer
Someone said tomorrow they will announce a new Smash character.
began when Mr. Aonuma approached us saying, I think it would be interesting to create a Warriors game telling the story of the Great Calamity. What do you think?
I find that very interesting because we know how it ends, but how it starts and how we get to that point I think is going to be the most interesting aspect, because this is essentially a prequel game. So it makes you wonder.
Warriors games were filled with Zelda conventions. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Now I have incentive to get Definitive Edition.
Perhaps it's the same for everyone here, but for someone like me, who's been playing Zelda games for a long time, this was an extraordinary experience. It's a new, special title for me. Unlike the previous Hyrule Warriors games, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was developed by working closely with the Zelda team in every step of the process.
Nice.
Including gameplay direction, graphics, world, and all.
And it's really good they're putting like 110% into Breath of the Wild too. I could appreciate that. Even though I didn't get that far, I did put like 20-ish hours in the game, which is like a fraction of how much everyone's done. But even then, I had a lot of fun with Breath of the Wild. And then Mario Kart 8 came out, and I'm like, well, time to play that game again.
Thank you, Mr. Hayashi.
Oh, we're almost
During
done.
the development of the previous Hyrule Warriors games, I was impressed with how the Warriors development team, led by Mr. Hayashi, had a deep understanding of the Legend of Zelda series. This time around, they made it possible to create this new experience by combining the well-detailed world of Breath of the Wild with Warriors gameplay. Therefore, I believe this game will offer the experience of the great Calamity battles that weren't fully shown in the original game. I hope that both those who played the previous Hyrule Warriors games and those who played The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild can experience this game. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity will launch on November 20th.
Oh my god, okay. Okay, cause I said Nintendo has shit for this year, but I wasn't sure if it was coming out like this year or not.
Continued support for The Legend of Zelda.
Thanksgiving, this... I wasn't sure... That's kind of cool. Oh my god. Okay, I said I branched this into some mini discussion, because, like, there was a lot of thought. Okay. First thing I should mention, I'm not that big into Zelda. Like, the only game that... And it's not by choice. It's not by choice. It's not like, oh, I don't really like this game. Or, like, me making this reaction to be like, it's like cheap and easy. Like, nah. Like, as far as new franchises for me, I want to get into, like, Xenoblade, Kirby, Persona, Donkey Kong, well, not so much that. Metroid, like, there's a lot of franchises I want to get into. There's only like a handful of other Nintendo games and franchises I actually got into. Zelda's at the top. The only game I actually played and beaten and finished, I almost 100%ed. Ocarina of Time 3D. I got that for my birthday like a couple years ago when me and my friends finished high school, and he's like, here, have a Zelda to help you get into the series. And I got Breath of the Wild when that launched on Switch, when I got the Switch at launch. I did a lot of aimless stuff though, and even then I didn't play it for that long. I played for 20 hours, but like, you know that's a fraction of how much people have played Breath of the Wild. Like, everyone's clocked like, what, 300, 500 hours, maybe 200 into that game because of how ridiculously huge Breath of the Wild is. And it's a really fun game, don't get me wrong. Like, even though it's a fraction of how much I played that game, even though I did aimless shit, I barely got far in the story. It was a lot of fun. The world was really pretty. It was really big. It was fun to explore. Like, and the only other game I did play, the only other Zelda game I did play, I did not get far in either, was Phantom Hourglass, but that was like years ago. That was years ago. But Ocarina of Time 3D was the only game I ever actually beaten and played through. That game is fantastic, by the way. Like, Zelda's a series I know for a fact I would definitely love. If I dedicated and invested time towards it and tried doing that, that's something I really want to do with this channel in the near future. Like, I actually want to, like, explore what this franchise does. Because I have the NES Classic, I have the first two games, SNES Classic, Link to the Past. I have Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, Majora's Mask 3D, Hyrule Warriors. I'm gonna get the Definitive Edition. I'm gonna get this game, too. But... oh man, Zelda. It just looks like such a cool franchise. But enough about me, let me just talk about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Breath of the Wild has a trilogy. It essentially has a trilogy now. Like, Age of Calamity, this Dynasty Warriors game, prequel, then you have Breath of the Wild, and then they're making the sequel, Breath of the Wild 2, which is probably coming next year. How much love and how much dedication they're putting towards this specific timeline of Zelda, I think it's pretty cool and pretty shocking, because you don't see this much, like I think Smash Brothers is the only other way a lot of these different Zelda timelines get a lot of representation. Like in Smash Brothers, for the longest time we've had Twilight Princess, Link and Zelda and Ganon between Brawl and Smash 4. Like, and of course, like, Wind Waker, Toon Link in that game. But I think, like, Smash Brothers is the only way we've gotten, like, multiple representations of Zelda timelines outside of the Zelda series. Breath of the Wild now has like 3 different games, and we've gotten like 3 of them within the past, what, 3-4 years? Or at least we know about their existence within the past 3 years. Like, I think that's big, and it also speaks volumes to how big Breath of the Wild is and how popular it is. Because, of course, Breath of the Wild is one of the best-selling games on the system. It's the best-selling Zelda game of all time as well. And it's just insanely popular, so it's cool they're giving this specific timeline a lot of love. Like, I think it's the most influential Zelda timeline or game ever since Ocarina of Time. Because for the longest time, I've heard, like, oh, Ocarina of Time's objectively the best Zelda game and one of the best games of all time because of, like, the structure it has, the gameplay it has. And playing it, I saw, like, I actually get why people consider this, like, one of the best games of all time. And now with Breath of the Wild, like, history repeated itself with that. Everyone was going nuts when Breath of the Wild came out, and then, like, all these other Nintendo games came out in the same year. It won Game of the Year in 2017 as well. And now it's getting a sequel, and now it has a prequel game in the form of Dynasty Warriors, which is technically a sequel to Hyrule Warriors, which is also really cool. I like Dynasty Warriors. The only Dynasty Warriors series I ever played was One Piece Pirate Warriors. One Piece, the popular manga anime series, it has a Dynasty Warriors series of its own. It translates really well into that, by the way, and, like, I like it because I genuinely really love One Piece. Like, the Dynasty Warriors series, I could see being repetitive, because it's like a button-mashing hack-and-slash game. It's relatively simple. At least with One Piece Pirate Warriors, it wasn't that hard to understand or get into. So I'd imagine it's extremely similar with Hyrule Warriors, especially being a Zelda series. That said, though, the fact that, like, it's a prequel to Breath of the Wild, the fact that it's a sequel to Hyrule Warriors, and it's just more Breath of the Wild to go around, like, that, I think that's cool in its own way. The fact that Hyrule Warriors has a sequel of its own is actually sick. The fact that, like, we essentially have a trilogy. It's kind of a joke, but, like, it's kind of true at the same time. It is a trilogy in a way. Like, this gives me incentive to get the definitive edition. I have the game on Wii U, but I'm not buying all the DLC when I could just get the definitive edition on Switch, as well as the small extra details. And yeah, like, I want to make this makes me want to make a video about a backlog. I want to make a video about a backlog, and I'm already making a video right now about criticism related to Nintendo with the whole 3D Mario All-Stars thing. And you could date that criticism to Nintendo back to, like, a lot of other events and games, Paper Mario, 3D Mario, Kirby, Metroid, like, since way back, since, like, probably the GameCube, but I want to say the Wii. But that's besides the point. As far as Zelda goes, I want to make it some, like, big series for the channel. Because, like, I want to stream Breath of the Wild, I want to play all those other Zelda games, but I also want to make, like, big-ass videos on them, too. Like, I really want to get into this franchise now. And, oh yeah, the other thing, before I forget. A week and a half ago, we were kind of worried that, like, Nintendo didn't have stuff for 2020. Ignore my dogs barking in the background, by the way. We were worried Nintendo didn't have anything for their 2020. Because, like, Corona, and, like, they just announced stuff on the fly, which is what they did with this one, too, granted. But, like, we only had Xenoblade, Animal Crossing, and Paper Mario, and the second half was, like, completely dry. And then we had 3D Mario All-Stars, bam, Mario Battle Royale coming next month, bam, 3D World Port with a bunch of extra content, apparently, coming next year, bam, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, Hyrule Warriors is getting a sequel, so, like, now their 2020 is, like, not bad. It's not bad at all. I don't know, I'd probably say it's, like, I said it was good enough in the 3D Mario All-Stars, but now I'm like, now it's like, okay, yeah, no, they had shit planned for this year. Corona definitely, like, hampered it, for sure. Especially in the case of Mario All-Stars, because, like, they had some Mario Maker 2 event planned in 2020, in April 2020, mind you. So they probably planned to announce that, like, months ago, like, over, like, half a year ago. But now they're, like, announcing all this stuff, essentially, within weeks to months before it comes out, which, on one hand, the marketing kind of suffers a little bit, because you have such a small time frame to do so. That said, though, the marketing for 3D All-Stars and Mario's 35th has been really good so far. But you get these games a lot quicker. You essentially don't have to wait very long at all. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity only comes out in about 2 months. That's not long at all. Pikmin 3 Deluxe comes out extremely soon too. So yeah, now we have some stuff for the second half between essentially a Mario remaster collection and Hyrule Warriors getting a sequel, but it's a prequel to Breath of the Wild. Damn, that's a little freaky. That's a little freaky, but it's cool at the same time. I really want to get into this franchise, guys. I want to make Let's Plays of all these games. I want to make big-ass retrospective videos of them. I want to make big-ass retrospective videos of the 3D Mario games as well when 3D All-Stars comes out as well. Oh, but I start my part-time job tomorrow. I don't know. Are you excited by this? Because I feel like there's like a lot to like think in a retrospective hindsight sense with this announcement. I like the Dynasty Warriors series. I like those kinds of games. I really want to get into this franchise, so you know I'm gonna get both these games by Christmas. And yeah, I think this is a pretty cool announcement. I hope you guys are excited. I hope you guys are looking forward to this. And I hope you guys are at least looking forward to the fact that, like, it sounds like they're putting 110% into Breath of the Wild 2, which, like, I completely believe it. They put a lot of stuff in Breath of the Wild. It completely changed the whole Zelda formula. By, like, taking conventions and, like, completely flipping them on their head, essentially. So, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to this game. Looking forward to Breath of the Wild 2. I'm gonna try and make more Zelda content. I don't know how soon that's gonna be. I don't know if this new part-time job I'm gonna get tomorrow. It's with the U.S. Census, by the way. Screw it. It's my personal life, but it's whatever. The U.S. Census. I could be like, oh, it's a government job, but all I'm really doing is like driving around, conducting surveys to people who haven't applied for the census. It pays really good, so like that's good, but like I don't know how the schedule's inconsistent, so I don't know how that's gonna seep into video production for this channel that much. Let's Plays will probably be like the only consistent thing I'll manage to do. I don't know how frequent the discussion videos are going to be, so that's going to be a little bit funky. But we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, thank you for watching this little reaction and mini discussion to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to get that. I'm going to wait a little bit before I play it on the channel. I'm going to get it at Christmas again, because like I'm not that big into Zelda, so I'm not in that big of a rush to get it. That, and it involves Breath of the Wild, which is a game I haven't gotten that far into, period. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. I'll wait on that, and we'll see what this Breath of the Wild 2 and the rest of Zelda has to offer. I'm definitely going to try and cover more Zelda on this channel, for sure. Stay super.